So, like you said, I mean, I've been donating roughly a third of my income since I lived in a van back in the day. And that was partially because my basic needs were met. I was doing everything I loved to do. I was spending all my time rock climbing outside, climbing big walls. I loved it. That was great. But I felt like I should be doing something useful for the world. And obviously, I care about the environment because I spend all my time on the biggest, most inspiring mountains of the world. And so I wanted to protect the environment in some way. But I also kind of knew from climbing expeditions to the remote parts of the world that nobody cares about the environment unless their basic needs are met. And so I started looking for environmental projects that also supported communities, supported standard of living for humans in places. And those sorts of projects were most often solar projects. And so then after several years of supporting solar projects, we just explicitly made it our mission at the Honnold Foundation to support community solar projects around the world.
Can you give some examples recently of the projects that you guys have activated around serving these underserved communities that have really what we refer to as energy poverty?
It's quite wide now. Like, we've done quite a bit of work on tribal lands in the U.S. Work in the Amazon. It's like now we've sort of, because there's such a demand for this type of work, like we do an open call for grant applications, and we get tons of applications, and so we really get to cherry pick the very best projects. And so we typically choose projects that have several orders of benefits. You know, like we supported this project with solar-powered boats in the Amazon. We're sort of like, rural communities can access,
cool.
But it prevents the need for cutting roads out to some of these communities by lowering the cost of transit. And that in turn reduces deforestation and illegal mining, things like that.
Yeah.
And so you have these knock-on benefits that are good for the environment more broadly by using solar in a way that's, so basically we have tons of projects like that, but it's always solar-focused in ways that help the community however they see best.
Yeah,
you know, like
that butterfly effect is really beautiful.
That's what we aspire to.
Yeah. I mean, I find it fascinating that solar energy is not just for a house, but it could be for a boat. It could be for all these different types of applications that can reshape a community in ways that you might not have thought of before.
Yeah, we've also supported communities with refrigeration projects and like water pumps and things like that. I mean, basically energy access. I mean, energy provides everything around us. You know, it's like people are moving up and down magically. And it's like that's energy use. You're sort of like, it just provides for community in so many ways. And that's what we're trying to help.
How do you mobilize corporate philanthropy for these projects? How do you interact with these corporates to get them engaged?
I don't know if I'm the person that I literally just ask. I'm like, well, we're supporting great work. I'm donating as much of my income as I can to these great projects. We would love to get support from anybody else who believes that these are worthwhile things to be supporting. I mean, I think maybe historically a lot of, especially in the solar industry, maybe people have done a lot of in-kind donations. It was like, you can have excess panels and like excess inventory and whatever. But I mean, what we're doing, we just find that the communities just need money. You just need to give grants so that they can finance the projects that they think are most important in their communities. Like, you don't want to just dump extra stuff on them and be like, this is what you need.
Yeah.
It's like, listen to your partners and do what they need, which is often just funding the solutions that they've come up with.
What I find fascinating about the work, the climbing that you do, is that there's obviously a lot of risk involved, and there's a lot of attention to your mind when you're on a cliff. How could you take something that you've learned from that experience and translate it to corporates who ought to be giving more in the philanthropic realm?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I will say one lesson that I've sort of taken from climbing is calculated risk or managing risk. And I think that at the Honnold Foundation anyway, we probably have a slightly greater appetite or tolerance for risk maybe than standard philanthropy. Because I sort of feel like if you're aspiring to help the people who need it the most, there is inherent risk in that.
Yes.
Like, if you're going to the most remote communities, there's always a risk that projects will fail, that organizations will fail, whatever. But that's kind of built into trying to help the people who need it the most, is that there's a higher risk of failure. And you take that on knowingly because you're trying to do the right thing. And so I think that at the Honnold Foundation, probably because of years of rock climbing, we just have a slightly higher tolerance for that kind of thing, and just accepting that the world is uncertain and we're still going to try to do the right thing.
Thank you, Alex, for everything that you did.
Thank you,
thanks for
Alex.
having me.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. You're an inspiration.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.